Pixelkin.
Think back to the last headline that you saw about video games in any mass media publication. It was probably something about how video games are corrupting the youth, causing violence, and are responsible for horrible health problems in all of our children. Seems kind of exaggerated, right?
Video games are sensationalized and demonized as the worst possible thing that could happen to our kids. Is that really true?
I'm Simone de Rochefort.
I'm Kinsey Young.
Here are 5 lies you've been told about video games.
First, a brief history lesson. Remember when people used to think comic books were morphing our kids into delinquents? In 1954, noted psychologist Frederick Wertham published Seduction of the Innocent, a treatise on everything rotten in graphic novels. From this we get gems such as, the effects of these pulp paper nightmares is that of a violent stimulant, and, unless we want a coming generation even more ferocious than the present one, parents and teachers throughout America must band together to break the comic magazine. If this sounds familiar, that's because we're saying the exact same thing about video games now. And comic books, well, let's just say we've come a long way. The point is, with every new medium comes a surge of anxiety. Video games are just the most recent focus of that anxiety.
When we treat games like they're inherently bad, it absolves people of their obligation to consume media responsibly and to think about what they're doing.
Lie number 1. Video games make you violent.
There have been a few studies done that claim that video games cause violence.
But what they actually found was that video games increase short-term aggression.
You're probably wondering, what's the difference? It's a huge difference!
If you've ever been in heavy traffic,
tried to repair a sink,
cleaned up cat puke, all of these things will make you aggressive.
It's all about being frustrated.
Some studies have even suggested that it's really the competition that makes you aggressive, not the game itself.
And when you think about sports games like soccer or football, the competition is the same and the short-term aggression is exactly the same. It's about getting excited and wanting to win really, really badly.
In other words, it's not a bad thing.
Like we said, it's short-term aggression and it doesn't actually result in violent action.
If video games did cause violence, you would think crime rates would go up. Actually, they've fallen.
Lie number 2. Violent people are attracted to video games.
Who isn't attracted to video games? A Pew Research survey found that 99% of teenage boys play video games and 94% of teenage girls.
On top of that, 72% of American households have a PC or a console that they play games on.
It would be more unusual if you didn't play video games. Lie number 3. Video games make you antisocial.
Not true! 76% of young gamers play with their friends. Kids and teenagers especially don't really differentiate between screen time and FaceTime. It's all social to them.
You can take steps to make sure that they're getting more FaceTime, but never assume that their screen time is being spent alone.
Lie number 4. Video games normalize negative messages like sexism and violence.
This one isn't entirely a lie.
If you think that video games are the only media containing these messages, you're wrong.
We talk a lot about how women are often sexualized in video games, but games aren't the only media to watch out for.
This isn't to scare you, but rather to reiterate.
These problems exist in virtually every form of media, and you should be discussing it with your kids no matter what they're doing. The only solution is to talk to kids about the negative messages that you see in media, and make it clear what is and isn't okay and why.
Pixelkin has a library full of games with discussion questions that will help you start. Lie number 5. Video games can cause health problems from sitting around too long.
This one is also not totally a lie. Human beings aren't designed to sit around all day. This means whether you're working a desk job or playing video games all night, you should be up and moving around frequently to stay healthy.
Sitting around doing any activity for too long can be detrimental to your health.
You're probably sitting at a desk all day and you're dying right now.
My back hurts. It is important to limit screen time. But video games aren't all bad. There are actually video games that get you up and moving. And studies show that being engaged in a game is actually way more rewarding for your brain than just passively watching TV.
In conclusion, it really bothers me how people talk about the negative effects of video games as if we have absolutely no control over how we interact with them.
It doesn't matter if you're reading comic books, watching TV, or playing video games. You have to engage. Make it an opportunity to learn and teach and connect with your family.
Ask them what they're learning, and most importantly, ask them how it makes them feel. Are they happy? Are they sad? Are they confused? Whether they think that game is realistic, or whether they would ever act that way in real life. Most often the answer is no.
Teach them to be critical consumers of media.
And most importantly, don't believe everything you read in the headlines.